One of the biggest secrets of all time has been kept right underneath your nose, and nobody's talking about it. Did you know that the Antichrist is alive today? He's on the earth today, and he's actually walking among us. I'm going to show you the 5 signs out of the Bible that the Antichrist is alive and he's in the earth today. You're not going to want to miss a single one of these. Stick all the way to the end. Now, first and foremost, if you're a Christian, you have nothing to be afraid about. Just because the Antichrist is alive and active doesn't mean anything. You have authority over him. But you do need to know what the Bible says about recognizing his coming. You know, the Bible says that we should not be ignorant of any devices or schemes of the devil. If you're ignorant about what the Bible says pertaining to the Antichrist agenda in the last days, you could very easily get caught up in it. So I'm going to show you the exact things that you need to know out of the Bible to make sure that you can identify the Antichrist when he is revealed. The first sign of the Antichrist is a one world government. The Bible says that there's a 5-fold agenda, and the first agenda that the Antichrist will establish in the earth is a push for a one-world government. If you're familiar with the United Nations and what every government in the world is pushing for, except for the United States right now, is a one-world government, or some people call it a New World Order. You can actually find it on the United Nations website, Agenda 2030. A part of Agenda 2030 is to get the entire world to come under one agenda where nobody owns anything, can purchase anything, sell anything, trade anything. Basically, they say you will own nothing and you'll be happy. The Antichrist agenda is to push a communistic government upon all of the societies of the world, where you are ruled sovereignly by a sovereign government. Many nations all over the world today have already laid waste to this, giving up their freedom, giving up their guns, giving up their rights as citizens in their nations just to submit to a communistic one world order. The first sign that the Antichrist is alive today is the fact that you can see this happening all over the world. And Nostradamus didn't predict it, the Aztecs didn't predict it, this didn't come anywhere else except for out of the Bible. 2,000 years ago, Jesus made it abundantly clear that this would be one of the prime agendas coming from the Antichrist spirit in the last days. Number 2, the Bible says that a following sign will also be a one world currency. The Bible says that the Antichrist will implement a one world currency into the earth so that everybody is using the same type of cash. However, this is not the cash that you feel with your hands. Cash, as you can see, is transitioning into cryptocurrencies. The Bible says that everyone will have to use the same type of currency. Well, how do you implement that? Obviously, it's going to be through the internet. Not only are governments all over the world attempting to annihilate the US dollar and eliminate the freedom of the US people in that, but they're trying to get everybody under this one world system and this one world currency. If they can get everybody using the same currency, they can control how everyone uses their currency. Furthermore, you can see in many nations of the world already, primarily communistic nations, they already have what's called a social credit score. Meaning, if you are not someone who is socially acceptable in the eyes of their government, they have the ability to freeze your funds. That is why it is extremely important that you do not give in to this one world money system. Now, ultimately, the Bible makes it abundantly clear that this will come to pass. However, as long as Christians are here, the Bible says the church is the one restraining force holding back the Antichrist agenda. As long as the church is here, you do not have to bow your knee to the Antichrist agenda. Until we are raptured out of the earth, I would fight back against this agenda with everything that you have. Remember, the Antichrist wants to get the entire planet under one money system so that he can control your money. We're already seeing this happen as they're implementing social credit scores into communistic nations all over the world. I believe in China and other nations, they have social credit scores that deem you worthy or unworthy of participating in society. Again, resist this and stay free. Number 3. The third sign that the Antichrist is alive in the earth is a one world religion. The Bible says that the Antichrist in the last days will attempt to get everybody under a one world religion, worshiping one God, a false God, not the God of the Bible. In fact, eventually he is going to have everybody worship him. But you can see as they began to implement these coexist bumper stickers and t-shirts that they're trying to get all of the religions to play nice and go along with one another. For example, you'll hear people say, "What's wrong with you Christians? Why can't you just keep your religion to yourselves?" Well, it's against our religion to keep our religion to ourselves. Many people say that there are many ways to God. There are not many paths to God. Matter of fact, the Bible says the exact opposite. There are two paths, a wide path that ultimately leads to destruction, and many find it. And then there is a straight and narrow path that leads to life, and unfortunately, few find it. That path is Jesus Christ. He said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, and nobody comes to the Father but by me." The Antichrist agenda to get everybody to make all religions play along in these last days is demonic. It is to get Christians to put their fire out, to think that all religions lead to God. That is not true. That is deception. Now, these last two signs might shock you. Sign number 4, a one world ruler. Yes, the one world currency, the one world religion, the one world government, they all point to one man. The Bible says that the Antichrist in the last days will make all men and women bow down and worship him as a one world ruler and eventually as a god. The Bible says he will sit in the throne seat in the temple in Jerusalem that is reserved for God. When he sits down, he will tell all the people that he is God in the flesh, and he will demand that people come and they worship him. And it is in that moment when all hell breaks loose on the earth, but also very quickly, the Bible says Jesus will come back with fire in his eyes, hair white like wool, and a double-edged sword coming from his mouth. These Bible prophecies tell you that when everybody says peace, peace in the earth, that there's going to be catastrophe that occurs in the Middle East. This is how you can identify the one world ruler or the Antichrist. The Bible says that he will begin to implement a 7-year peace treaty in the Middle East. And after exactly 3.5 years, he himself will go against this peace treaty. When he himself breaks the peace treaty, you will know that is the Antichrist. And from there, he will begin to make people worship him. And if you don't, ultimately, he's going to chop your head off. And yes, I'm being facetious, but I'm also being very serious, as what the Bible says. Now, finally, this is the 5th sign that the Antichrist is alive in the earth. All of these things lead up to this final sign, which I saved for the last point because you can see this most prominently happening right in front of your eyes. The Bible says that the Antichrist will make you take the number of the beast, which is 666, as a mark in your right hand and or in your forehead, and that you will not be allowed to buy, sell, trade, or travel without this mark. Now, a lot of people say that's insane. There's no way that anyone would take anything illegal or anything crazy and put it in their body just to participate in society. And if you do say that, I'll remind you that only 4 years ago, people were willing to put many things that they've had no clinical testing or trials on into their body just to go buy the leftover toilet paper at Walmart. If you would have talked like this 20, 30, even 40 years ago, I understand why it would sound so crazy. But if you look at everything I've laid out for you in this video, you can see that it is very plainly happening right now. I've seen multiple stores across multiple nations already implement palm reading technology, and many other places where you can take a microchip, put it in the prefrontal cortex of your brain into the scalp, and when you do it, you can walk through doors, you can access apartment buildings. They have literal programs right now where people can take marks in their right hand and in their forehead in order to participate in society. It is no secret anymore. As a matter of fact, I believe the Antichrist agenda is taunting people right in front of our eyes. However, most Christians are completely deceived. They have no idea what's happening. If you talk to many of them, they would say, "This is absolutely insane. You're a conspiracy theorist." And I would just say, "I'm a realist, and I read the Bible. And this is what the Bible says is happening in the last days." Now that I've laid out for you the 5 signs of the Antichrist agenda in the last days, I want to make sure that you are aware of when, how, and where World War III is going to take place. You can click the video on your screen right now and go check out this video where I lay out for you the exact place and the exact time and exactly what's going to happen when this last world war takes place. The Bible refers to it as Armageddon. If you want to find out how the earth as we know it eventually comes to an end, Go check the video on your screen right now, and I'll see you there.